As always, Governor Christie is an open book, says you can ask him anything except about the Mets being 18 and a half games out of first place.
Right.
Oh, I have a few questions.
Yeah, Mika will have a few
questions.
About the Mets, Mika, or no?
You can't ask about the Mets. You can't ask about the Mets.
Let me start then. I won't ask. No, let me go first. I just need to know what to do with this.
She always cuts me off.
No, I really do. I need to because we want to have Republicans on the show.
Yes,
absolutely.
We do. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for coming on. All Republicans are welcome.
Appreciate it.
And if everything you're saying about him is true, and you and I agree on January 6th and everything else that, Donald Trump has done to this country. You also say people can't get the truth from him. I just need to understand, how do we do this when you're a candidate, you're trying to push people away from Trump because it's bad for the country, and yet you were in there. Did you not see what was happening?
You mean
did you not say something?
Debate prep?
And everything. I mean, why didn't you say something when you were there?
I think, and Governor, really quickly, I think there's a bigger question that obviously everybody wants to hear your answer to that. There's a bigger question too about the balancing of what generals had to deal with, and their idea that I'm going to stay here because if it's not me, who comes behind me? You certainly saw that with General Mattis and several others. Gary Cohn, several others. At what point, though, do you just say, I'm out? And I think Mika would ask, and a lot of other people would ask, wasn't 2020 a little late to see the light?
Elections are about choices. We've had this conversation a number of times before. I didn't want Hillary Clinton to be president, and I didn't want Joe Biden to be president. Now, for me, everyone is going to have their different breaking point. Based upon your own sensibilities, your own sense of that choice. For me, it was election night 2020 when he stood behind the seal of the president in the East Room of the White House and said the election was stolen at 2:30 in the morning when not all the votes had even been counted yet, and he had no basis to say it. When you undercut the American people's belief in democracy from behind the podium at the White House, to me, that was it. And I said it that night on ABC.
Right.
And by the way, Mika,
Governor,
let me just say one thing, though.
If I can just follow up, Governor, really quickly, though, you had told me privately that well, gosh, I guess I shouldn't say this since you told me privately.
It's a private conversation.
Okay, so
Joe, screw it. You did it already, so go ahead.
Okay, you told me that he had started working to undermine confidence in the election to you privately behind the scenes, like in the spring. And you were saying, Joe, this is coming. This is coming. He's going to try to make Americans believe that American democracy doesn't work. You knew that in the spring of 2000.
I didn't know it in the spring, but what I said to you at that time was that during debate prep, which started in late August of 2020, that he started to say things like, well, if I don't win, it's going to be because of the mail-in ballots. So it wasn't really an issue of it being stolen. It was more an issue of him saying that these changed rules or whatever are not fair and they're more open to fraud. And he started to say that. I read that at the time, Joe, as him being concerned about winning, that he felt like he was losing. And that as a result, he was starting to say that already to try to set up an ego protector for himself. But in the end, to me, you ask when, the when was, for me, election night 2020. And by the way, during the 4 years of his presidency, at least the last 3 where I was no longer in office and I was sitting at ABC as a commentator, if you go back and look, there were a lot of times where I was very critical of things both he said and he did. And believe me, I know I was, because I'd get the phone calls in the car on the way back from New York to New Jersey with him yelling at me because I'd said something critical on Sunday morning. So, we all have our breaking points. That was mine. But I don't think anybody can doubt the sincerity of what I'm saying and the authority with which I say it, because I was a supporter and I did know him for 22 years. And so to have somebody like me saying it, no one's ever done that before.
Right. And I will say there will be a lot of people saying, oh, my God, how could you want Donald Trump instead of Joe Biden in 2020? Well, that's why you're running in a Republican primary instead of a Democratic primary. I'm just saying that to our viewers right now, even though obviously I would strongly disagree with you there. Again, that's why we have 2 parties.